Huck's moral journey traced the development of Huck's moral consciousness throughout the novel, including his changing attitudes towards race and his growing sense of individual autonomy. In Mark Twain's novel The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, Huck's moral journey is central to the story. At the beginning of the novel, Huck is a product of the society in which he lives, and he unquestioningly accepts the racist beliefs and values of his time. However, as he travels down the Mississippi River with Jim, he begins to question these beliefs and develop a more nuanced sense of morality. At the start of the novel, Huck sees Jim primarily as a slave and feels little sympathy for him. He believes that it is his duty to turn Jim in and return him to his owner, and he struggles with his conscience throughout the early chapters of the book. However, as he spends more time with Jim and learns more about his life and experiences, he begins to see him as a human being rather than just a slave. Huck begins to question the morality of slavery and eventually decides to help Jim escape, even though he knows it is illegal. Huck's moral journey is not limited to his attitudes towards race, however. He also develops a growing sense of individual autonomy and personal responsibility. As he spends more time away from society and its rules, Huck begins to see himself as an individual rather than just a member of a community. He starts to question the values and beliefs of the society in which he lives, and he begins to make decisions based on his own sense of right and wrong rather than just following the rules. This development is evident in Huck's decision to help Jim escape, despite the fact that it goes against the laws and customs of his society. Huck knows that helping Jim is wrong according to the rules of his society, but he feels that it is the right thing to do on a personal level. Similarly, when Huck is faced with the choice of turning Jim in or protecting him, he decides to protect him, even though it means going against the rules of his society. Throughout the novel, Huck's moral journey is one of increasing awareness and autonomy. He moves from being a passive member of society, accepting its values and beliefs without question, to a more independent thinker who questions these values and develops his own sense of morality. Through his experiences on the river, Huck learns to see the world in a more complex way, and he develops a greater understanding of the humanity of others, regardless of their race or social status. Jim as a character. Discuss the character of Jim, particularly in relation to his role as a symbol of the oppressed and marginalized in American society. Jim, the runaway slave, is one of the central characters in Mark Twain's novel The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Jim is a complex character who serves not only as a companion to Huck, but also as a symbol of the oppressed and marginalized in American society during the mid-19th century. Jim is portrayed as a kind, compassionate, and intelligent man, despite the fact that he is a slave. He is often seen as a father figure to Huck, providing him with guidance and protection throughout their journey. Jim's role as a father figure is significant, as it highlights the absence of paternal love and guidance in Huck's life. Jim's experience as a slave is a central aspect of his character, and his struggles and hardships serve to highlight the injustices of slavery. Throughout the novel, Jim is shown to be a victim of the oppressive slave system, which denies him his freedom and basic human rights. He is forced to endure the cruelty of his masters and the dehumanizing treatment that comes with being a slave. Despite his status as a slave, Jim is a proud and dignified man who maintains his self-respect and sense of identity. He longs for freedom and dreams of reuniting with his family, but he never loses sight of his humanity. His desire for freedom is not just about escaping the physical chains of slavery, but also about reclaiming his humanity and dignity. Jim's character serves as a powerful symbol of the oppression and marginalization experienced by African Americans during the mid-19th century. Through his experiences and struggles, Twain highlights the injustices of slavery and the need for social justice and equality. Jim's character also represents the resilience and strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity and oppression. In conclusion, Jim is a complex and powerful character in the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, whose experiences and struggles serve as a symbol of the oppression and marginalization experienced by African Americans during the mid-19th century. Jim's character highlights the need for social justice and equality and represents the resilience and strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity and oppression. Dialect and language. Examine Twain's use of dialect and regional language in the novel, and consider how this stylistic choice contributes to the overall tone and themes of the story. One of the most distinctive features of Mark Twain's novel The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is his use of dialect and regional language. Twain employs a wide range of dialects, including the southern dialects of Missouri and the Mississippi River Valley, as well as African American Vernacular English, AVE. This stylistic choice contributes to the overall tone and themes of the story in several ways. First, Twain's use of dialect adds authenticity and realism to the novel. By representing the characters' speech patterns and mannerisms accurately, Twain creates a vivid and immersive portrayal of life in the American South during the mid-19th century. The use of dialect also helps to distinguish the various characters and their backgrounds, highlighting the diversity and complexity of the region's cultural landscape. Second, the use of dialect and regional language reflects the novel's central themes of identity and belonging. The characters in the novel are all struggling to find their place in a rapidly changing society, and their use of dialect and regional language reflects their attempts to assert their cultural identity and assert their place in the world. For example, Huck struggles to reconcile his loyalty to the values of his white Southern community with his growing awareness of the injustice and cruelty of slavery. Jim, meanwhile, uses dialect and vernacular to assert his identity as an African American and to resist the dehumanizing effects of slavery. Third, Twain's use of dialect contributes to the novel's critique of social norms and conventions. Through the use of dialect and vernacular, Twain challenges the dominant cultural assumptions and values of his time, particularly those related to race and class.